Yes, first of all, apologize for being a little bit tardy. Practice ran a little over. That's on me. Again, I apologize. I don't like people waiting. I think when you ask people to wait, that's not the way this thing works. So that's on me. Hopefully I'll get here in time next week. That being said, we had a bye week, and going through the bye, the first thing you do is evaluate yourself as a football team. Things you've done well the first 6 weeks and the things you need to continue to improve on. And so there was a laundry list of things, and we've made an emphasis on certain things that we feel like if we improve, we'll become a better football team. I think it's always about the players and how we can help them and improve at the positions they play. I think there's been a lot of work done on that the last 6, 7 days that we've had the ability to practice. I thought practice was very crisp yesterday as well as today. I think there's a good focus, a good energy about our football team right now, knowing that we've only got 6 opportunities left, and they're all important. Stanford obviously is a quality football team. David Shaw is one of the better coaches in college football. I've known him for quite some time. Great football coach. Has a DNA of how his teams are going to play week in and week out. They've suffered a couple tough losses, close games. They're a physical football team. The formula that they play with, whether you're on a bus, a train, you drive, you hitchhike, it travels well. Toughness of their offense, big physical receivers. I mean, all these guys are 6'3" or taller, and real physical. We got a really good running back who's been nicked up some. Now he'll be well for us. They got a defense that can get after you. They're very sound, savvy football team. So this will be a good test for us. I think our guys are excited about playing. Pac-12 contest, obviously, and it's one that we need to win. We need to start winning some games here down the stretch if we're going to make some hay for the rest of the season.
Coach Paul Richardson with the Sportscape. I know the record's 3-3, but the team, is it progressing the way that you envisioned that it would?
Yeah, and it's all about the development of the players and obviously the cohesion of the coaches and the players. Anytime you take on something like this, there's always a learning period between both parties. And for me as well, learn the conference, learn the players, learn my coaches. And I think we've done some things that we like. We have to continue to improve on some things that we have not done a good job of. And they're very evident. We struggle in 3rd and 4th situations as an offense. We do the same thing on defense. We put people in bad positions and we let them get out. We have to tackle a lot better on defense. We've got to play better in the 3rd quarter offensively. That's kind of where we have not really improved a whole lot of. But I think the building blocks are there. What we're trying to emphasize as a football team, I think those things are coming to fruition. Young players, they make mistakes. And so do old players. And we really talked about the mental errors. And if we can clean those things up, we'll have a chance to win some of these games that we've played in that are one score. A lot of it has to do with a series of plays. You make them or not, you win. If you don't, you come on the bad side of it.
Tim Healy, ASU Radio. Herm, you talked about Stanford's DNA. A lot of that DNA in recent years has been the ability to pound the football on the ground, and yet their rushing numbers are down this year, and their passing numbers, they look like they have a big play passing game. Is that DNA changing in any way?
Well, I think it's changing in the sense that they've been down in the 1st quarter. When you look at their numbers, they've only scored 2 touchdowns in the 1st quarter. They've given up 38 points. And so they've been a little bit behind. They've gotten behind early. With that being said, in the 2nd quarter, they seem to catch up. And the 3rd quarter is when they really all of a sudden take control of the game. That's when they outscore their opponent by about 20 or 47 points. Then the 4th quarter, not so much, because now they're running the ball again because they're playing the clock. And so when you look at their possessions, they possess the ball only about 11 times a game. They're slow, they're methodical, but they have improved in the passing game, and they've got some big receivers. They use their tight ends very well. They're hard to cover. They're physical guys. They got some good receivers as well. And Love has been in and out of the mix, so that's kind of maybe slowed him down some. He's well now, so we got our hands full with him.
Hey, Coach. Tressa from
Hello.
Channel 12. the status of Nikhil and how he's looking come this
He's
week.
he's been practicing, so we anticipate everyone on deck. It's a big game for us. Thursday night, ESPN game. I think players like playing under the spotlight of national attention, especially good players. They enjoy the spotlight. They don't run to the shade. They actually love the lights. And so knowing Nikhil and the guys that have been a little nicked up, and I thought the bye came at a good time for us. It really did, because we've had some guys that are nicked up, but everyone's nicked up. Only people aren't nicked up is the coaches, because we don't play. But if you play football, you're going to have some bumps and bruises. That's part of it. Pass that mic. Yeah.
The coordinators talked a little about the self-scouting and what they got out of it. Can you comment on that a little bit? Just what not giving away anything.
Yeah,
but
well,
what
you kind of, and everyone does this. I know we do it in the league all the time, but I think in college football you have the same ability to do that. You basically go back to what you've called as a coordinator, and your calls kind of pile up after 6 games. What are your first down runs? What are your first down passes? What are your third down calls in these situations? How do you attack the red zone? So situational football becomes a part of your self-scout, and you look at that. You evaluate the players. Every player was graded and evaluated on our football team by position. Winning performance, losing performance, every game. So that is on the list. I have it. How many plays every player played. All those things go into the process of how you evaluate your football team halfway. And then from there, you get together as a staff and say, okay, how can we improve as a team? How can we improve individually, your group? And so all those things are talked about. And I think we took some good information out of there. I changed practice a little bit so we could get into some of those situations that we needed to improve, whether it was red zone, third downs, backed up. When we're backed up, in other words, when we're backed up in -15, -10, we don't do a good enough job of getting ourselves out of there. We end up punting. Same way with defensively. We got some teams backed up, we let them out. +40, we're really good. We get inside the +40, we find a way to score points. We're a pretty good flow of things. And so, all those things you look at and you evaluate it, and you first ask yourself, is it the call? It's always, you start with yourself as a coach. Is it the call or is it the player? And that's the question you have to ask. And if it's the player, then you say, are we putting the player in a position where he can't succeed? Or are we asking him to do some things he's not capable of doing? Then that's coaching. And so those are the things you look at. I think we have a good feel for what our pluses are and minuses are. And I think you want to obviously disguise your flaws. That's what football is about. Don't let them attack your flaws. And don't be in a position where you have to play that way. And sometimes teams get you there, and that's never a fun way to play football.
Herm, Chris Cartman, Sun Level Source. You mentioned it there briefly, but your third down defense.
Yes.
What have you thought about just the overall capability there?
Well, a lot of things have happened, whether it's rush, whether it's not properly in our right areas when we're covering people. And sometimes the guys they were better. And there's a reality to that too. Sometimes the guy's just better. And nothing you can do about that, because that's ball. They call that ball. The guy's better than you, on that play's better than you. And you look at all that, and it all starts, it has to be a coordinated effort. Coverage and rush go together. There's a sequence. Situations of what situation. The killing part for me is that when you get them in 3rd and 7 or more, boy, you gotta make them punt. And that's not the case at times. We've let some guys get out, and then the drives continue. And it's about not allowing them to drive once you get them in 3rd, because that's the down. I mean, you get to 3rd and 7 or more defensively, you're feeling like, okay, let's get off the field, guys. That has not been the case, and so we got to improve on that.
Hey, Coach. Sandy Charles, DevilsDigest.com. So J.J. Wilson and Malik Lal did not participate in team practice today. What's the status on them? JJ's
still coming through his ankle. He's still trying to get ready to try to play. At this point, he's not ready. Wall is okay. He kind of was in and out today a little bit, but I anticipate him playing, to be quite honest. Yeah.
Hey, Coach.
Hello.
You mentioned briefly a little bit about kind of the third quarter lulls, but have there been any solutions? Coordinators yesterday were kind of stumped a little bit on what exactly that could be attributed to.
And you know, well, offensively, it's not sustaining drives. Defensively, is it all of a sudden you come out the second half and you give up a big play or whatever it may be. But we got to do a better job of third quarter of coming out and jumping on some teams and scoring. We were pretty good in the first quarter. Fourth quarter, we're really good. I mean, we are like lights out. It's like, whoa, okay? And that's because all of a sudden now, if we're behind, we're like in this mode of, uh-oh, there's a sense of urgency. But I think there's got to be a better sense of urgency in third down. And for offense, it's hard because it's all about possessing the ball. And if you don't possess it enough and you go 3 and out, it's like, wow, really? We get the possession in the second half, and we got to have our play calls ready, and are we ready to roll? And you got to move the ball in the third quarter early, especially if you possess it. If you possess it the first time coming out of the half, I think that's critical. Whether you score, more important to me is that you change the field. You hate to get the ball at the 25 and you go 3 and out. Now you punt. They get the ball in pretty good field position. You want to get it to the 40, 45, and if you stall out, you stall out. But now we could punt it and pin them down inside the 10 and maybe play good enough defense to get the ball back, and now you've created field position again for yourself. So we got to do a better job of that.
Coach Ethan Schmidt with Devils in Detail. You were saying...
Did we say Devils in the Details? Is that what you said? Devils in the details?
Yes, sir. Devils in detail.
Devils and detail?
In detail.
In detail.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
The devil don't have a lot of details, but go ahead. Anyway.
Well, you were saying that Stanford is methodical in their drives. So how do you plan to match that, especially as you guys have struggled lately with time of possession?
Well, they're methodical, and so are we. There are 11 possessions in a game. We're 10. So you could get a quick game. If you blink, it might be over, because both teams are very methodical now. We can speed it up some. They speed it up as well, but I think it has a lot to do with the running game and how they try to play. And for us, we're methodical in a sense, but I think we're explosive too, and that's where we've capitalized. We've made a lot of explosive plays, whether it's running or passing. You would like more possessions, and that has a lot to do with third down. If we convert on third down, we get more possessions. If not, we're at where we're at right now. And we would like to be 13 possessions. That'd be kind of nice if you could get up to that number for us, because then we'd own time of possession a little bit better. We'd probably run into rather 67 plays. We'd be in the 80s, probably low 80s, which would be great, because then you protect your defense. They're not on the field, and it helps you. So we got to convert on third downs. And I think Stanford's the same way. They're not very good on third downs either. And that's why they're at 11%. They're at 11 possessions a game. We're at 10.
Herm, your +5 turnover margin is the best in the Pac-12. It seems like it's based largely on your team's extraordinary ball security. You've committed the fewest turnovers in the country. Is that the way you view it?
Yeah, let's knock on some wood when you say that. Start asking those questions. Yeah, we've been pretty good of not turning the ball over. Haven't done a good enough job taking the ball away, though. This is a defense that's really, we stress that. Not every defense stresses that. I shouldn't just say this one. But you want to take the ball away. And we've only got 3 interceptions, I think, something like that. And we got some fumbles. We've got some sacks, which is nice. But you want to create possessions. That's another way to get the offense the ball. You get about 2 takeaways a game, and you get 2 more possessions. And all of a sudden, instead of 10, we're possessing it 12 times, right? With that being said, opportunity presents itself. We have to get on the ball. We got to find a way to catch the ball. This whole last 6 days, we've done a lot of ball drills with the defensive backs, catching the ball. It's amazing to me, and I just speak as a former defender, that I think there's a knock on defensive players that can't catch. And I'm never going to admit that they cannot, because I always felt I could catch a ball pretty good. But sometimes when you don't throw them the ball in practice and you don't set up drills that allow them to actually play the ball, then they don't have a feel for it. Now, some of these guys were former high school running backs, defensive back, or wide receivers, and they always say that, well, they used to be wide receivers, but they couldn't catch, so you put them on defense. That's the joke as a defense player. I get that. But I think you have to do drills that allow them to go after the ball. I'm really big on attacking the football as a defender. I've always said this, is that when the ball leaves the quarterback's hands, it doesn't belong to the offense. It has no one's name on it. And you have to be confident enough to play the ball. And I see that in football in general, that most guys are not confident. They don't play the ball, they play the man. When you have the ability to play the ball, you got to play the ball. And you got to put them in position, you got to do drills. We've really worked hard on it this whole week. I've been with the secondary every day. And I've really emphasized that with them. And hopefully it'll come to fruition. Maybe we'll catch a couple balls. That'll be good to see.
After Colorado, have you changed your mind at all on Nikhil on punt returns? And then also, if you get the fully healthy Bryce Love, how are you going to stop him?
Better tackle him. Don't let him get outside, because if he gets outside, we're not going to catch him. He's fast. He can run fast. It's like, you know, like anything else, it's going to take a total defense to do that. You have to be you have to be gap control responsible, and you have to understand that, because he's a guy with great vision, and they can start one way, and if he sees any kind of daylight going somewhere else, he's going. And he's a tremendous running back. There's no doubt about it. And we got to tackle him, and it's going to take more than one guy. We've done a lot of work this week against the run, but with that being said, these 6'5", 6'7" receivers bother me, because they throw it up and they're covered. And Utah, I thought, did a nice job of really turning to the receiver and playing the ball, but they're going to throw it. When you're covering the guy, they don't care. They're going to throw it up to the guy and say, are we going to throw our guy ball, and our guy's going to out-jump your guy? And if you do that, then you know what? You win, because you just out-jumped us. And hey, I mean, I wish I could make everybody jump like you know, 43 verticals, but everybody's not a 43 vertical. And when you're covering a 6'7" guy and you're only 5'11", not good. So we better get a rush. We better find a way to play the ball, because if not, they'll catch a ball on us that will be right in the guy's face, and the guy will catch it. And they do it every week. And so that's what you got to try to defend.
Coach, you have a lot of – oh, go ahead.
Oh, Nikhil, yeah, as long as this guy don't come from the sideline and tackle him, we're good. We're all right. I mean, and you know what? And the guy made a play. I mean, we did the same thing. I'm not saying, you know, I mean, he found his way and got on the field, and we got to be smart enough to block the guy. We did the same thing going the other way, but the runner went the other way, and our guy didn't tackle him. But yeah, I mean, tell you what, if we block the guy that came in and tackled him, he's gonna score. There's no one over there. He's running to the end zone. He's gonna hit his head on the goalpost, because there ain't nobody over there. We got them all blocked. But one guy, you know, and trick or treat, here I am. Gotcha, bang, tackled him. So it's good.
Coach, the mental side of the game, how do you handle the momentum swings with the young guys? You got a lot of young guys on the field. How do you handle that side of it?
Yeah, it's been interesting. And you gotta get them focused on the task at hand. And I love emotion. It's an emotional game, and I love guys with emotion. But their emotion can't get the best of them, where all of a sudden it becomes a series of plays where it affects them. And that's what you deal with when you're dealing with young guys. And look, it's not just young guys. We got some veteran guys that get a little emotional too. And it's okay, you know, as long as you do it on the sideline, you get it out of your system, and you go back on the grass and perform. And that's what you have to do. You can't take it on the grass with you, because then all of a sudden you're not focused in on your job, you know. And I just say that as a former player. I could talk as good as all of them, but I knew, you know, once I lined up, it was done. I got to focus on my job now, because, you know, when you play out there on the corner, you're one pass away from being on the wrong side of the highlight tape. And so, you know, I understood that, but that was my mentality. And I just think you have to have this certain mechanism that goes, I'm here, and now I'm here. And that's You know, you got to figure that out, and every guy's is different, and that's what you struggle with sometimes with certain guys.
Coach, you mentioned that you have an explosive offense, and there's no doubt about it. You know, when you have Nikhil, and all those guys. So what? Yes, Frank Darby.
Too,
that's who I was.
Yeah, that's okay. I got you. I knew you were searching for that name. I could tell on your brain. You was.
Yes, sir. So when you have all these guys, how do you keep the balance with getting everybody involved in the right ways?
Well, it's hard, and that's what makes it hard for a coordinator, because you have so many explosive players you want to get the ball to. You feel like you're running it well, and he knows, running 4 or 5 yards, and then you want to take a shot, and how do you get Nikhil the ball? And we move him around, obviously, to get him the ball, because he's our number one player on offense. And then, Darby and the auxiliary players that are part of it too. And so for me, offense is hard because you play with the ball. And if you don't possess the ball, if you go 3 and out, someone's not touching the ball. That's how it works. And I always tell them, if everyone wants to touch the ball, go make some first downs. If you go 9 or 10 plays, everyone's going to have a shot to touch the ball. Now, sometimes receiver-wise, you can take the guy out of the mix if you roll up on him or take him out. And if you do that, then the ball goes somewhere else. And receivers understand that. And that's why you got to move guys like Nikhil around, so they can't constantly roll up on him or try to bracket him or take him out of the mix. So you got to constantly move him around. With that being said, he's got to be smart enough to line up in 5 positions. That comes with the territory when you're a player like that. So I just think when you possess the ball and you go on long periods of drives, then we become very, very good on offense. Because when you watch us play, if we can go on those 7, 10 play drives, it's fun to watch. It's fun for me to watch on the sideline because we're in a flow and you can just see it. And defenses have to react to that. Who's going to get the ball? What are they going to do? And so that is part of the process of playing offense, and it's hard when you don't have enough plays.